Hello and welcome back to another episode of a cozy Christmas podcast. I am your jolly host, bedecked in my red flannel shirt, now that some fall weather has finally arrived. I've got another guest on. I believe he's been on partly before, back when I had some of the book club people get together and we chatted about the book we read. My guest today is the one and only Glen Warren from the Seasons Eatings podcast. Now, Seasons Eatings has been around for quite a while now, and it was early on one of my favorite podcasts. I love the foods of Christmas and really enjoy how much Glen is still able to talk about new foods. There's so much food involved with Christmas. Before we get to Glen, I do want to circle back to my previous episode about Merry Christmas, George Bailey. Tim Babb sent me a part of his interview he had with the actor Jimmy Hawkins, who played Tommy Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life. And he was also produced the Merry Christmas, George Bailey. And when Tim heard I was going to be doing that on my podcast, he so graciously sent me a clip from his interview, because his interview went long and my last interview went long as well. So I'm kind of carrying it over into this episode. Anyway, I thought this was really interesting and wanted to play that for you before we get to talking with Glen. So let's head out to my roving reporter, Tim Babb from the Can't Wait for Christmas podcast, as he scores this exclusive interview with actor Jimmy Hawkins.
I did want to ask about, so you produced for PBS Merry Christmas, George Bailey, which was a televised version of a stage adaptation of a radio play, which is an adaptation of a movie, which was an adaptation of a greeting card, which was an adaptation of an original story.
Yeah.
That seemed like, first of all, did you ever like, how much more adaptations can we have? But
right.
Was that an easy is not the right word, but was that a natural thing?
I got the idea. I said, no, I want to do the radio version, because people they're in a different place. They can't say that Bill Pullman was no Jimmy Stewart. Because it was a whole other thing. It's a radio show, and you could separate it. And I got a live orchestra, got a sound effects guy from that era, and put this thing together. And I took it to Dick Clark Productions, and they liked it. So they pitched it to NBC. And NBC said, no, this isn't right for us. You know where you should go? PBS. So that's where I went.
Yeah.
I said, this ain't going to happen with the networks, And Dick Clark doesn't do anything with PBS.
Oh.
So I made a call to somebody. I saw their name produced on some PBS thing and called him and said, I got an idea. Oh, that's fabulous. Okay. And he talked to his people that he produces a bunch of stuff for at PBS, and they bought it. And then I delivered. I was going to do it through the Motion Picture Home. I had talked to them. I said, I want to get in all the proceeds from it will go to the Motion Picture Home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me bring it up to the board. Sounds like a great idea. So in the meantime, I talked to Mary Jo Slater, was a friend of mine from New York. I met her through something years ago. And I called her, just update what's been happening. Oh, I'm doing a radio show about It's Wonderful Life, and it's going to be live. Oh, that's great. So about 10 minutes later, she called. She said, I want to set up a meeting with a charity I belong to for pediatric AIDS, and they'd like to sponsor the show and get the proceeds. So I met with them, and they said, well, I can deliver this star, all these stars. And I said, well, that's what I need. It's going to boom and go. So I did. I okay, I'll give it to you. The motion picture homes dragging their feet,
Yeah.
and this is a bird in the hand. So thank you. So I went that way and then put it together. And then different stars kept coming and going, uh, different parts. One actor died. Well, he said he would do it, but he couldn't. So anyway, we did the thing live at the Pasadena Playhouse, and it came off great. The place was packed, made hundreds of thousands of dollars for the AIDS people. The PBS uh, bought it from me to show for 3 years, and portions of their money went to pediatric AIDS. So everybody won all the way around, and it got great reviews through the writing. The reporter said a new uh, they were very complimentary to the production, and it was.
Yeah.
He had Nathan Lane as
Clarence.
Clarence. He just fall apart. You just loved him, and he was on right away. Other people were feeling, how do you do radio? How should I? They tried to memorize it, and I said, don't memorize. I want you to read it. Read it. That's what everybody did. They read it.
Right.
Okay. But everybody was so excited, brought their gifts to the production, and worked out extremely well.
I mean, it must be hard because, everybody's seen that movie a million times. To when you're performing those lines, not to be like, oh, I'm going to replicate the cadence
but it's different, and
Yeah.
the people knew it was different.
I mean, yeah, they're professional actors. I don't know.
Didn't say, oh, they weren't that. What is that? They weren't any good. No, they just loved it, and to have that music, the full orchestra playing that score. I had met Dmitri Tiomkin's wife, had dinner with her, told her what I'm doing at different times, and she said, anytime you want the music, it's yours free. I won't say anything. Just Mr. Hawkins wants it, give it to him.
Nice.
So she's been very nice. So and just all the way along, people. Sally Field, I'd known her since she was a little girl. Her dad was under contract to Gene Autry at the same time I was, so I knew him and would go to his house, and she would be there. But a little 8-year-old girl, and nice family. And always gifted. I did a Gidget with her, and she's great. Even there, I said, this girl's special.
Yeah.
You hope that they read the part like this because you're going over it the night before. Boy, she's terrific. She's very gifted.
Would you say you like her? You really, really like her?
I think I really, really do. Yes. Right.
All right. And thanks again, Tim, for doing that and being willing to share your interview. That was really neat. Thank you so much for that. And congrats to Tim, by the way. He's celebrating 10 years of his podcast. Again, one of the first Christmas podcasts I came across was Tim's, and I thoroughly love his show. And every time I see a new episode pop up in my podcast catcher, I'm always excited. Thanks so much, Tim. And also make sure you check him out on TikTok because he is killing it over there. All right, enough of that. I smell something good baking in the oven, so that must be a sign that Glen Warren is here to talk all about his podcast, Christmas and Christmas traditions in Canada, as well as more locally where he lives in Newfoundland. My guest today is Glen Warren. He's the host of Seasons Eatings podcast. That was, I think, Glen, I've been listening since almost the very beginning of your podcast. And I've really loved what you do there. Just talking about foods around the world, about different Christmas foods and traditions of that nature. So today we're going to talk about Glen and some of the Christmas traditions he has up there in Newfoundland. So Glen, welcome to the Cozy Christmas Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
And thanks for listening.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, food is one of my favorite Christmas traditions. So I really enjoyed your hook into the Christmas podcasts. I kind of gave a sneak peek. So, but why don't you go ahead and just give us a brief rundown there on your podcast and how long you've been doing it?
Right now, it's in season 6, so I've created a podcast called Seasons Eatings, and I do a kind of a deep dive into the history of Christmas foods. I started off doing the traditional stuff like, fruit cake and candy canes and stuff like that. And now in season 6, I've gotten a bit more obscure. I've gotten a few listener requests. So my one I did for last month, I think, or a few months ago, I can't remember. It's called apple skewer. It's almost like a donut hole. It's a Danish pancake-like donut hole that they wrap or roll in powdered sugar, and then it sounds really good. But unfortunately, the history of that one started off with the Vikings allegedly making this batter in their dented shields, which seems a bit far-fetched, but you never know.
Sounds like a Viking thing. I don't know.
Yeah, put your
I,
shield over an open fire and drop some pancake batter on it. That
yeah,
might work.
that might. Wonderful. One thing I'm wanting to do this year is to look around the world and see what other countries and nations uh, do for Christmas and how they celebrate. And so, of course, I had to look north to Canada, and I know several of you up there, but you are. Now, I'm really bad at geography here, so but Newfoundland is fairly north, I think, isn't it?
We are the easternmost province in Canada.
Okay,
So basically, go to Maine and keep going northeast, and
okay,
you'll hit us.
got it. I'm likely to get lost, but with those directions, I can't go wrong. So,
Yeah. So we're considered a bit different because Newfoundland has its own time zone. So we're a
okay.
half hour ahead of the maritime time zone.
Mm-hmm.
So everything starts like when we do all the, Christmas specials or the news or whatever. Everything's like 9 o'clock in Canada, 9:30 in Newfoundland.
Yeah, I was curious about the time zone there because sometimes I'll joke about time zones being like 23 minutes ahead or something, but you guys are legitimately 2.5 hours. Was
Yeah.
there a reason for that?
I think the story was that it was back when the train system was still running. And so back when Canada and the time zones were invented, it was based on where you were, I guess, when the sun is noon in your area. So they set the time for the proper time. So that's why we have so many different time zones across the country. And because St. John's, that's the capital of Newfoundland, is on basically the easternmost edge of the province. It's as far away far east as you can go in Canada. They added that extra 30 minutes. We are, I think, only 3 places in the world that have a separate half-hour difference time zone.
I don't. It's a quirky thing, I think, but I kind of like that about you guys.
We have a lot of different quirks. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a few sayings that most people don't recognize anymore. My accent is not as strong as it used to be because I moved away for a few years and
Hmm.
recently moved back like 5 years ago. So there are a few different sayings that Newfoundlanders are known for. But again, my accent is kind of flattened out. But I mean, Newfoundlanders, when they meet each other, they usually say, "What are you at?" which is like, "What are you up to? How are
Hmm.
things?" It's sort of general greeting. And usually the answer is, "This is it."
Yeah, not much. Right,
That's it.
right. That's how we'd say it in America. Yeah, not much.
Yeah. And of course, if you're going over to Nan's or your mom's, the first thing out of their mouth is, "Did you eat?" But it's usually slurred together. So it's like, "Jeet. Jeet yet?"
Oh
which
yeah.
is, did you eat yet?
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to be greeted by somebody.
Especially grandma. Grandma always knows you got to eat first.
That's right, especially grandma. Absolutely. All right. So, as a whole, what can you tell me about some of the Canadian Christmas traditions that would maybe set you guys apart?
Well, a lot of our Christmas traditions come from England.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people emigrated from England back in the, 1700s, 1800s as Americans. So we do have a lot of familiar things like the Americans do. So we have turkey. We have, traditional sides of potatoes and carrots and all that stuff. Brussels sprouts is a big thing because it's a British sort of staple for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Canada also has a few different desserts that probably people aren't familiar with. There's, of course, Christmas, you bring out all the sweets. So there's a layered bar called a Nanaimo bar, which was created in British Columbia. Nanaimo, BC is where it allegedly started. So it was based on a cookbook recipe, I think, back in the 40s or 50s, and it was just a basic layered bar with this sort of chocolatey coconut layer on the bottom, a custard on the in the middle, and sort of another thin layer of chocolate on top. So that's the Nanaimo bar. In Ontario, there's a thing called a butter tart, and it's just as decadent as you think. It's literally butter and sugar in a crust. So you make, it's almost like you take the pecan pie sort of filling without the pecans in it.
Oh my goodness.
So it's just pure sugar baked in a pie shell, which is great. And some
Yeah.
people throw in raisins, but you can get butter tarts with raisins or without. In Ontario, there's actually a butter tart festival they
Hmm.
have every year in the summer, but I can't remember. So each little small town makes their own version of a
Hmm.
butter tart.
Yeah. If you put raisins in, it'd be a little more healthy for you. Then,
Yeah,
yeah.
you don't want that. You
Oh,
don't
we
want
don't
that
want
at
that.
all.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, Similar to in Quebec, Quebec is the mostly French-speaking part of Canada.
Hmm.
There are French-speaking communities across the country, some here in Newfoundland, some in Western Canada, but Quebec is majority French-speaking. They have a few distinct meals. Tourtière is a meat pie. Basically, it's traditionally, it was pork and beef, but you can get it with lamb. Sometimes you can do a sort of fowl version, like ground turkey or ground chicken, but traditionally it's pork and beef with a spicy filling mixed in, cooked in a pie shell, and then topped with another pie shell. So it's completely covered. That's usually eaten on Christmas Eve. Also in France, there's another pie called tarte à sucre, which is basically sugar pie. Again, like the
Hmm.
butter tart and the pecan pie sort of base. It's just literally butter, sugar, a few other ingredients, eggs to keep it together,
Hmm.
and in a pie shell. Uh, there's, I'm trying to remember a couple other things. In Newfoundland, we have a few different things. There's we have a traditional Sunday meal called a Jig's dinner. And that's you take this everything's boiled in one pot. So that's obviously left over from British cuisine and sort of very folksy, very colonial. And you take a piece of salt pork. So it's pork that's been cured and salted. So it's again very salty. Throw that in a pot with water, throw that with vegetables, potatoes, carrots, turnips, all your root vegetables, basically, some cabbage. Keep that all boiled together. And while that's cooking, you make a thing called peas pudding. So you take peas that have been sort of mushed together, mixed with a bit of flour and some salt and pepper, put it into a cheesecloth bag, and put that into the boiling pork and vegetables. And so they all cook together, and that sort of they all sort of season each other. So that's a typical Sunday meal, but it's also a nice sort of big Christmas meal as well because it's easy to make and it's all one pot, so you don't have to worry about too many dishes. Um, what else do we do? In Newfoundland, there's a slush that we make. It's alcoholic. So one of the things is the salt pork comes in a little plastic bucket. So usually it's like a 3 to 5 pound bucket. And so people keep the buckets, obviously, because why throw it out? And you use it for berry picking in the summer. You use it to hold your sewing supplies. You use it to, take your lunch
Right.
with you back in the
Right.
day.
Right.
Yeah.
Where I live, there's a lot of rural farms and places, and one guy I work with, he always says, never throw out a bucket. I grew up on a farm. You don't throw away buckets. You can reuse them.
No. So, so the bucket from the salt pork is used to make this thing called a Christmas slush. So
Mm.
basically, you take usually vodka, pineapple juice, and a few other ingredients, and see if I can remember what they are. Um, and sort of mix them all together. And the
Mm-hmm.
pineapple juice, because it has this enzyme in it, it doesn't freeze as much as other fruits.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this, it doesn't freeze completely. So you get a nice slush that you mix together. And of course, the alcohol, it prevents things from freezing
Right.
completely as well. Oh, right. I forgot a little bit of lemon and lime and orange juice. So you take, yeah, pineapple, orange juice, alcohol of choice, usually vodka. Sometimes it's rum if you want a little bit of a kick, and a little bit of sugar syrup. And you mix it together, throw it in the freezer for a few hours, and then you just dole it out into these glass cups and just have it as your drink of choice for the evening.
And completely forget what you did that night, right?
Yeah, exactly, because it's fruit based, it's healthy.
Right, right.
This all starts on Tibbs Eve, which is December 23rd.
Okay.
Um, Newfoundlanders back in the day, because of their sort of religious upbringing, a lot. This is, of course, early 1900s up to maybe the 1950s, 1960s. A lot of, um, I think it might be mostly Catholic, but I could be wrong. Um, they absconded from alcohol for the Advent season. So end of November when Advent starts up till Christmas Eve, you wouldn't have a drink. So a lot of people took the saying that the day ended when the sun went down. So that would mean the next day has started. So technically, December 23rd evening is the beginning of the Christmas season.
Okay.
So they used to
Right.
call it Tibbs Eve or Tipsy Eve because people would start drinking after the sun went down on the 23rd. I know it's
Right.
it's it's interesting logic, but it works for some people.
I could see that. Yeah.
Uh, so we other Christmas traditions that Newfoundlanders have. Um, oh, there's another thing, snowballs. This is I
Mm.
when I sent out my Christmas cards last year, I put a recipe for snowballs. This is a interesting dessert that I used to love when my mom used to make it.
Hmm.
It's basically a combination of chocolate, coconut, oatmeal, sugar, and a little bit of egg or milk to keep it together. So you mix everything. Oh, butter as well. Butter and sort of mix it all together, melt the butter, mix it all together, roll it into little balls, and then roll the balls into coconut. So they look like little snowballs, obviously dirty snowballs, but
Mm.
snowballs. And my mom used to make these by the dozens when I was a kid. And of course, you stick them in the freezer. So because there's so much sugar in them, they would never get like super hard. So
Hmm.
every once in a while, I'd go to the freezer, take out a snowball, and rearrange it so it looked like I didn't take any. And then, and
Tricky.
eventually she'd go, "How come I made 5 dozen? I only have 4 dozen left."
I don't know. Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
powdered sugar all over your yeah or something.
Well, it's funny because Christmas is always a weird thing, not weird thing, but an interesting thing for me because there are a lot of foods that we bring out that we never bring out any other time of the year,
Yeah,
you know? Um,
yeah,
Even
same.
though right now at our time of life, we can buy ingredients practically any time of the year we want,
Right.
but we always bring out these special dishes that mean Christmas. Like, for example, it's another Newfoundland thing. We have a thing called a Vienna sausage. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
little tin with 7 little sausages in a tin. And I don't know what they're made of. I probably don't want to know what they're made
Yeah.
of, but they're little tin sausages. And so there's an appetizer that I grew up on that my mom would bring out every Christmas during a Christmas party. It's basically a cube of cheddar cheese, a slice of a pickle, a gherkin, a pickle like a sweet gherkin, and a slice of Vienna sausage, all on a toothpick. And to me, you can buy those three ingredients any time of the year, but they always came out at Christmas. So to me, that little three things on a stick always reminds me of Christmas.
Yeah, there's foods I eat too that, I mean, even like turkey. If I have a turkey anytime other than like Thanksgiving and then Christmas, it like this
Yeah.
doesn't almost feel this feels wrong.
Yeah, it's
uh,
it's funny because you have turkey during. I mean, yes, there used to be a seasonality to it because
hmm
turkeys would be born the the are they called chicks? I don't know if they're called chicks, turkey
yeah,
chicks.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, the baby turkeys, they'd be born in the spring and then eventually they get big enough to be, made into Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner by the fall.
hmm
And so, yes, we'd have that seasonality, but with freezing and everything now, again, you can buy turkeys any time of the year. I don't think you'd pay the same price.
Right. Yeah, definitely not.
But yeah, exactly. Turkeys at
Yeah.
Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter was always ham for us.
Mm.
It was always a summer ham or spring ham. It was never lamb. Sometimes it's turkey now for a lot of people,
hmm
but it's always interesting because it was always an Easter ham with a honey mustard glaze and those pineapple rings and cherries on top.
Yeah. So yeah, we do ham for Easter. And but then you folks do Thanksgiving earlier than what we would in America.
Yes, Thanksgiving is the second Sunday in October, usually.
Second Sunday in
Uh,
October. Okay, so
yeah, so
at the time of this recording, that's coming up here pretty soon
that's yeah, this
for you
coming
guys.
Sunday.
Yeah. Um,
And I haven't bought a turkey.
I was gonna say is since this episode will be out, a couple weeks before our Thanksgiving, um, are there similar Thanksgiving traditions to the United States with like food and reasons behind why you celebrate?
Yes, and again, like tradition, the harvest in Canada, because we're a little bit further north, the
Mm-hmm.
harvest was always ready a little bit earlier.
Okay,
And
sure.
so everything would be taken in, and by the middle of October, things would be winding down on the farm. So you'd have a big Thanksgiving dinner. By November, not as much anymore, but you can't harvest anything in November anymore here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, with technology, yes, you can, but
Right.
traditionally, if you're just growing things on the land, by November, you've already had a hard frost and things are dying off.
Yeah.
But for the Thanksgiving dinner, I don't know if we have similar things. Obviously, we have the turkey and the mashed potatoes and root vegetables and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't do the green bean casserole. I think
Mm.
that's more of an American thing.
Yeah. I don't really like
We
it.
definitely don't do the sweet potato casserole with the
Oh,
marshmallows because I,
yeah.
I I personally find that too sweet, but that's my taste.
Yeah, well, you guys eat that butter tart, but you think
I know.
there's
I
there
know.
something's not right there.
Yeah. We just don't want it as a main deal. A main meal. We'll
Sure,
have it at the end of the meal so we can wash it back with some slush.
there you are. As far as like Christmas traditions go, do you guys follow pretty much the same routine kind of a thing? What would what would a typical Christmas be like in like a Christmas day be like in Newfoundland,
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland? Yeah, wherever you're at. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Had too much of that slush
It
today.
depends on the family. I mean, yes, I usually go to a New Year's Eve, or sorry, not New Year's, Christmas Eve service.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a lot of places have um, family service and then a late night service.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then after that, we'd depends. If you're Catholic, you would kind of come home and have a meal, and then especially in like France, Canada, and Quebec, you would have your big meal after the mass on Christmas Eve. And most of the meals would be I don't want to say vegetarian, it's non-meat, although they consider fish a non-meat, which is weird for me.
Hmm.
Um,
I've heard that.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so you'd have a meal that was consisted mostly seafood and vegetables and other stuff like that. You wouldn't have any uh, turkey or chicken or beef or stuff like that. So that would be a Christmas Eve dinner. In Newfoundland, we have a thing Christmas Eve called fish and brews. Like some families, old time families would have. Fish and brews is basically salted cod that's been rehydrated. It's cod that's been dried out and salted. Um, Again, a little bit of history there. Back in the day when England used to trade with Jamaica for rum and sugar, they would stop here in Newfoundland to pick up supplies because it would take months to take the boat down to Jamaica for trading. And of course, they would stop in St. John's. We're still a British colony. They get supplies. So Newfoundland in the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s had abundance of cod. Cod used to feed off the shores here, and there was a. It's been said John Cabot stopped here and said you could practically walk on water for the amount of cod that were in the water. So I think it's a little bit of hyperbole, but that's just me. Um, so we take the cod, we dry it out with salt, and then the cod would be sent on the boats down to Jamaica. That's why a lot of Jamaican culture has a lot of cod dishes. And so they would trade the fish for rum, sugar, a few other things, molasses, stuff like that. And then they would come back here and refuel and get supplies again. Of course, we'd get the rum, we'd get the pineapple, we'd get the molasses. That's why I think a lot of Newfoundland culture recipes have a lot of connection to Jamaica because we have a lot of recipes with coconut and pineapple and rum. And it seems weird that we're a Canadian province and we have all these sort of tropical ingredients. It's because of the trade we used to do for the last few centuries with Jamaica and England. Um, where was I going? Oh yeah, so fish and brews. So we'd have the cod, so that gets soaked overnight to rehydrate the cod, and then gets drained and fried. And then brewis is a bread that is basically bread without a leavening agent. So it's kind of like a really hard bread that you can store on ships that doesn't rot because there's no water basically in it. And so it's called hard tack. And you'd get sailors would take this bread on ships, and you can still buy it today in the stores, bags of hardtack. And when I was a kid, I would again take a piece of hardtack and just sort of gnaw on it like this little squirrel, just kind of chewing on a piece of hard bread. And the brewis again would get soaked in water overnight, so it wouldn't fall apart, but it kind of just rehydrates, and it would get fried up with a little bit of fatback and onions and the fish, the rehydrated cod. So it's kind of like this sort of slurry of pieces of fish and bread and a little bit of fat, which doesn't sound that appealing now, but back when you're on a boat and you're spending 3 to 4 thousand calories a day trying to
Yeah.
survive, it fills the hole.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'd be willing to try a bite of it at least.
I mean, you can still get it nowadays. I mean, there are places who will do there. Of course, it's falling out of favor with the newer
Sure.
um, generations, but because it's so calorie dense and doesn't look that appealing, it's
Yeah.
more of a sort of touristy thing right now.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah. I
it's
can see that.
it's part of our tradition that part of our heritage.
Well, it's so interesting how food can even shape a culture. That the foods you guys would get would be the foods that could stay on a boat and stay good for thousands and
Months.
thousands of miles months. Yeah, yeah. So of course you're gonna have the alcohol, the things like
Yeah.
that can last. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Another Christmas tradition that's similar to an Irish tradition. It's called mummering, and I've noticed there's a couple other traditions in different parts of the world that is similar. So mummering is, you would think it would be a Halloween thing, but people get dressed up in costumes. They take old clothes from their families' closets and put a sheet over their head so you can't see their face, but you can see there's little eye holes so you can see out. And they'd wear like really big rubber boots or a rain jacket that was oversized, or wear a bra outside the outfit and stuff it so it looks, different shaped and all that stuff. And a group of people would go to the houses around the community and knock on the door and say any mummers allowed in, and the person would let them in, and they'd have to guess who the people are. Of course, they'd try to disguise their voice and all that stuff. And, invite them in for a drink, invite them in for a little bit of food, and they'd, play some music and dance around the kitchen. And eventually the homeowner would try and guess who they were. And you'd know they'd be people in your community, but you wouldn't really know who they were. And so if you guessed who they were, you didn't have to give them a little treat. But if you didn't guess, you would have to give them a treat and send them out to the next house. So another thing, that's it's kind of tied to a Welsh tradition called the Mary Lwyd. It's interesting to describe because, again, between Christmas and New Year's, part of the 12 days of Christmas, a group of people would go to particular Welsh households with this skull of a horse and knock on the door and sing a poem through the door, and the person would try to guess who the person was. And one of the mummering traditions, you have a thing called a hobby horse with you. So it's basically, those old toys where the horse is on a stick
Yep.
and you would ride it,
Yeah.
pretend to ride it. That's basically it. So I think that's what came from the Welsh tradition. And there's another tradition in Labrador. Newfoundland is basically two different land masses. So Newfoundland and Labrador is the whole province.
Hmm.
Newfoundland is the one, the island, and Labrador is the one connected to the mainland. Labrador's population is a lot of First Nations, Inuit, Inuk people. So they have a tradition on, I think it's it's Old Christmas Day, which is January 6th. And they call it Naluk, let's pronounce it correctly, Naluyuk night. So basically, people dress up in and wear a mask, and so you can't see their face. And they go around trying to capture the community's children. And if they catch the kid has to sing a song to be let go and given a treat. So it's like a trick or treat for Old Christmas Day. And Old
Yeah.
Christmas Day is 12 days after Christmas Day. That makes
Yeah.
sense?
yeah. Because of the whole like Wiseman thing coming late or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Or
so it's
yeah,
like January 6th or 7th, depending on how you count Christmas. Does Christmas Day
right.
start at 1 or does the day after Christmas start at 1? But Old Christmas Day is in Newfoundland. It was when the traditionally animals speak,
Sure.
um, and you're supposed to kneel down and talk to the animals.
Yeah.
And
Wait.
also in Newfoundland was where you got it was called a um, yeah, called Old Christmas. So you'd stick up your stocking again, and you get
Mm-hmm.
treats in your stocking, and you'd have the last bit of your Christmas meal on Old Christmas Day.
Right. I've read a couple of stories on my podcast here that where animals talk, and it was Christmas Eve, and I wondered if that's where, or that's what they were referring to, some of that tradition of animals speaking. Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's so. Oh, it's interesting. Where that would come from, or why why like the Victorians, and you obviously you have that British influence. Why they would focus on like ghost stories and things on Christmas Eve. Um, I don't know. It's one of those questions that I think is would be interesting to dig in deeper about.
Oh, likewise, Dickens' Christmas Carol, all about ghosts.
Right. Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
you think it'd be a Halloween story and not a Christmas story.
Right. Right. Yeah. In October, I have a couple of stories I'll be reading that are really got a are ghost stories. I mean, they're just straight up ghost stories, but they were published in Christmas magazines
Oh
and
yeah, I have a couple
yeah.
books, Ghost Stories for Christmas,
Yep.
that are
Yeah.
old Victorian Christmas stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what I love it because then I can read those in Halloween, get a little dose of Christmas, but also, be a little spooky.
There was I can't remember the author. I can't, he had a whole bunch of Christmas ghost stories that were sold as a volume,
Mm.
but he was a professor in Oxford, and every year he would meet with his fellow mates in the library or where they lived, and each one would tell a ghost story at Christmas Eve.
Mm.
And it was like, this is interesting.
Maybe it's something something connected with animals can talk, ghosts appear, what's it's a wild and crazy time on Christmas. Maybe they had too much slush, I don't know. Are there as far as like Christmas movies go, are there like Canadian films that maybe we in the US might not be aware of that are a part of your tradition, or do you pretty much follow the standard Christmas fare?
Um, Nowadays I follow the standard fare, but there are a few Christmas ones that are distinctly Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is one of my favorites that I watch every year. It's called Cosmic Christmas. And
Okay.
I think it came out in 1977 or 1978, one or the other. You can find it on YouTube, if I can say
Okay.
that word. Um, find it, yeah. It's not copyrighted at all.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so it's about this little boy who has a pet goose, and he sees this light in the sky on Christmas Eve, and it's three aliens that come down and try to figure out what the meaning of Christmas is. The storyline's a little far-fetched, believe me, but it played in Canada almost every year, and it was done by a cartoon company called Nelvana, and they're the ones who did all the Care Bear cartoons back
Oh,
in the
sure.
80s.
Yeah.
Um, there are a couple others. Uh, Christmas cartoons for me. The Raccoons, they have a Christmas special. For better for worse, they put out, I think, two or three Christmas specials. Again, that's a Canadian comic that was usually
Mm-hmm.
done in the newspapers, but they had animated specials for the holidays. I don't know if they did anything else besides Christmas. They may have done Thanksgiving, but there was a short-lived series back in the 2000s, and I think each one it was in three parts, each half hour. So one would be like the early years, and then one would be the middle years of the family, and then one would be the later when the kids are all sort of grown up. But it didn't last very long. But
Yeah,
the
I
the
know
Christmas
that.
special is one of my favorites.
Sure. Yeah, I know that For Better or Worse comic. Uh, that comic strip would be is printed in the U.S. newspapers.
Yes, Lynn
Um,
Johnson is
yeah,
the artist, and I know she
yeah,
retired many years ago, but
sure.
they did, it's still in syndication.
Yeah, yeah. I that's one as a kid I didn't really get, but now as I got older, I'm like, oh, I understand this a bit more. you know,
Yes.
as you become a parent and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one called The Bestest Present, and I think I forget the young girl's name, but she loses her little toy bunny at the mall,
Oh,
and she's
yeah,
distraught, of course, and things happen, and then the
yeah,
bunny gets returned to her at Christmas. So
yeah. I tell you what, when Grace was little, she well, she still has this poor bear, but if she were to lose this teddy bear, it's like game over.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah,
Nowadays, it's just kind of a nice little time capsule because you can
yeah,
remember, the malls in the 80s and how they busy they were and all that stuff. And just
right.
it's nice to relive that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, well, as we wrap things up here, what is maybe something that you're really looking forward to this year for Christmas, or whether it's a tradition or something that you personally do that that you're excited about?
One of the things I make for Christmas every year that I love doing, it's a figgy pudding. So like the fruit cake in Dickens, where
Mm-hmm.
the pudding comes out of the oven or out of the soup pot and it's boiled and it doesn't smell like washing like Mrs.
Okay.
Cratchit's did. Thank
Right.
God. Uh,
Right.
but it's similar done. It's a boiled pudding, so it's like filled with fruit and nuts and just I don't use a pudding bag. I use a mold now, but I still basically boil it and steam it for hours. And it comes with a nice um, hard sauce with basically it's a sauce made of rum and butter and sugar. It's called hard because it's hard liquor. So, and just pour that
Yeah.
over the pudding as a treat and some whipped
Yeah.
cream.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Now, now, do you light it on fire at all, like,
I
or
could light it on fire, but I don't.
okay,
I mean, there's only two of us, so it's not like there's a big spectacle.
right,
So.
right, yeah. Boy, that sounds delicious, though. Wonderful. Well, Glenn, thanks for coming on and just sharing some of how you experience Christmas. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, Seasons Eatings is available everywhere you can find podcasts.
Yeah, and a new episode comes out on the 25th of every month, and I try to have a special episode on Christmas Day.
All right, so be looking forward to that. Yeah, I know you also have a merch store too that I
Yes, if you go to seasonseatingspodcast.com, there is a little merchandise tab. So there's t-shirts, baby clothes, cups, whatever you like. A lot of
mhm.
Seasons Eatings themed merchandise.
I just this past month I bought the shirt that says "Crazy Christmas Dude" on it.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Yes, I love that shirt. That's I'm looking forward to wearing it this year. So I thought that seemed like me. So all right. Well, thanks again, Glenn, for coming on. I hope you and yours have a Merry Christmas this year.
Same to you. Thank you again.
Now, didn't that just make you all hungry? I sure am. Check out Glenn's podcast. It's a real treat. Okay, we are barreling our way through November, and I'm really excited about what I have planned for the rest of November. Because I am who I am, I still, I'm not quite 100% sure yet what we're going to have in December, but November's planned out and even most of it's recorded by now. So we're on a roll here. And I'm looking forward to a couple stories I found about Mrs. Claus that I'll be reading, as well as I have a handful of interviews coming out with some authors who have some great Christmas books out this year, including a book about what terms that Christmas has given us, as well as another great Christmas novella from Rosanna White. And I'll have both of them on the show this month. Looking farther ahead, I've got a really special episode planned for Thanksgiving that's all about the Advent season. And I have a couple of good podcast friends come on, and we get a little theological, but I hope it's something that will encourage you to have some time to be reflective this season about what makes Christmas special. So that's all to come in November, as well as as I said, a couple stories. I hope to have a Thanksgiving story and so much more. And then looking ahead to December, it's going to be great. I can't wait. But that'll be all for me today. Thank you for joining. Again, as always, there's some links in the show notes to different things we've talked about, as well as ways you can help support the podcast. And if you're able to help out in a financial way, I'll send you a Christmas card as well as a bookmark and sticker as part of that. I just found out that there have been a couple people I've missed sending out cards and bookmarks to. So if you think you were on that list and need one, just send me an email to cozychristmaspodcast@gmail.com and just let me know. Don't worry, you're not nagging me. I had a really rough end of December last year and early part of this year, and I'm afraid a lot of things just slipped through some cracks. So thank you for those who have reached out. I really appreciate it, because I want to say thank you to this community. You folks have meant so much to me, giving me story ideas, listening to the episodes, sharing it with friends. It's just been so wonderful, and it's a little way I can give back to you and say thank you for helping me get the podcast to where it is today. So thank you so much for that. And with that, let us remember to always honor Christmas in our hearts and try to keep it all the year. Have a very Merry Christmas.